Namaste. Welcome to Indian Knowledge Systems Primer Course for Children. By this session, we are starting a series of lectures on yoga. This session, we will deal with the introduction and overview of yoga. So, yoga, as we all know it, is a spiritual discipline. It focuses on the body and mind's harmony. It harmonizes the body and mind. But this is a very general definition. Whoever, when they utter the word yoga, what is the picture that we generally get? We usually think about some tough, complex, contorted asana or a posture. Sometimes we say that it is meditation. Sometimes we say it is a breathing practice, and so on and so forth. But yoga per se is a very subtle science. It is a body of knowledge. We will start about to define it a lot more technically in the upcoming sessions. For now, let us understand that yoga is a spiritual discipline focusing on the body and mind harmony. Yoga, the word, comes from the root word in Sanskrit called yuj. Yuj means to join or to unite. That is the meaning of yuj. So, one can understand that yoga also means to yoke or to unite. So, basically via yoga we try to merge the individual consciousness with the universal consciousness. The union of the individual consciousness with that of the universal consciousness, which is otherwise called as Purusha, is called as yoga. That is the aim of yoga. We will go on to define yoga further along different aspects. Very soon we will take up references from different texts and we will define them in the upcoming sessions. Yoga, one should understand, is also one among the Shad Darshanas. What are Darshanas? Darshanas are Indian philosophical texts, Indian classical philosophical texts. There are 6 such Darshanas: Samkhya, Yoga, Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Purva Mimamsa, Uttara Mimamsa. There are 6 of them, Shad Darshanas, and yoga is also one among the Indian classical philosophical text. By now one can understand that yoga is an inner science. It is an inner science comprising of variety of methods through which a human can realize this union, the union of the consciousness with the universal consciousness. That union can be realized by the human and they can live to their fullest. There are varied methods for this. Maharishi Patanjali, as we would see, would have classified yoga into or would have consolidated yoga into 8 limbs. These are stepwise procedure to attain to the union or the steady state of mind, or one can call it as the self-unfoldment. Let us now understand the brief history and how yoga got to develop. So, yoga's roots date back to the dawn of the civilization. It has been there from time immemorial. In the yogic lore, it is said that Mahadeva or Lord Shiva is considered as the first guru, the Adi Guru. It is said that all of the yogic knowledge he had taught his 7 disciples, or otherwise called the Saptarishis, and they went on to spread it to everybody for the betterment of humanity. That is the yogic lore. India deeply embraced yogic system and influenced a lot of ancient cultures as well. There has been lot of exchanges with different cultures along the lines of yoga itself. There are many such evidences and textual and travelogues which talks about this. So, we have seals and fossils from the Indus Saraswati Valley civilization, which dates about roughly to 2700 BC earlier. They show yogic postures. For example, in this slide, if you see the top, the black and white image in the top, that's called as the Pashupatinath, Pashupati, image of Pashupati, the seal of Pashupati. That is a very famous relic. So, that if you see, you can see that ideally it has got to be Shiva. So, Lord Shiva is sitting in more in Padmasana or Siddhasana. It is a clear yogic posture. one can understand from that. Now, let us try to understand the time scale of evolution of yoga. Like we said, yoga has been there since the dawn of civilizations, since time immemorial. But if we have to put it in some sort of a time scale, we have divided it into such logical parts, starting with the Vedic period. The time period of 2000 BC and earlier is called as the Vedic period here. Rig Veda, Atharva Veda, all these texts and the later Vedas, all of them have some mention of yoga in them. We will see in detail shortly. Next phase is called the pre-classical period, which spans from 1500 to 700 BC. All the Upanishads, Mahabharata, Bhagavad Gita, all of them come under Yoga Vashishta, all of them come under this period, the pre-classical period. The classical period or the golden era of yoga is during 200 BC. That is when Maharishi Patanjali made a phenomenal contribution to the whole of the yogic system. He went on to consolidate all the different types of yoga into Ashta Angas. He said that to achieve the state of yoga, one has to undergo these 8 rungs or 8 limbs in orderly fashion, so that they can achieve the state of yoga. And for that, he had also written 195 aphorisms under the name of Patanjali Yoga Sutras. These are codified observations. These are codified observations of his own personal experiences. Then comes the post-classical period, which spans from 800 to 1700 AD. A lot of Hatha Yoga happened during. Hatha Yoga came to prominence during this period. Lot of texts in Hatha Yoga came into being. Hatha Yoga Pradipika, Hatha Yoga Ratnavali, so on and so forth. After that, 1863 AD to current day onwards can be considered as modern period. Modern period has a lot of prominent personalities such as Swami Vivekananda, Swami Satyananda Saraswati, Maharishi Paramahamsa Yogananda, and so many people have been, Ramana Maharishi, all of them belong to the modern period. So, this is the broad time scale in which we are trying to understand how the yogic system or the science of yoga, the body of knowledge of yoga has evolved. Let us move ahead. Let us try to see each of these periods one by one. Starting with the Vedic period. The time for the Vedic period is between 2000 BC to earlier. So, words such as Ashta Yoga, Shat Yoga are all mentioned in the Atharva Veda. So, the words are mentioned in the Vedas. Atharva Veda also has concepts such as Ahimsa, Asteya, Satya, Brahmacharya, Tapas, Swadhyaya, etc. All of these at a later stage we would be able to see they were classified into Yama and Niyama and form the first 2 rungs of the Ashtanga Yoga given by Patanjali Maharishi. We will see that a little later. But now such concepts were also mentioned in the Atharva Veda from a very long time. These are also now part of the Ashtanga Yoga description. There are different methods that were employed for self-advancement of the individual in the Vedic period, which contribute to the development of yoga. Lot of different methods, because it was so long ago, lot of different methods were employed for an individual's self-advancement. All of these at a later stage contributed to the development of yoga directly. Now, coming to the pre-classical period, which is the time of 200 BC. We had lot of Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita, Mahabharata, Yoga Vashishta, all these seminal texts, they mention yoga. Yoga Vashishta also defines yoga. Bhagavad Gita also defines yoga under multiple aspects. Different aspects are taken into consideration to define yoga. So, focus here during this time was more on philosophy and the contemplation on Atman or the soul. It was not so much inclined towards the physical exercise and that part of it. Kathopanishad, for example, defines yoga as the state of steadiness of the mind. How is it achieved? Achieved through controlling of the sense organs. Such a beautiful definition, isn't it? So, once we gain control of the sense organ, then the mind moves on to become or moves into a steady state. Such a state is called as yoga, says Kathopanishad. Next comes classical period. So, this is the golden era for yoga. So, this period spans from 1500 to 700 BC. Like I said earlier, Maharishi Patanjali, he wrote his phenomenal work called as Patanjali Yoga Sutra, which constitutes of 195 aphorisms divided into 4 padas or 4 chapters. A very interesting thing here is that you need to understand all the knowledge that has been written were codified into sutras, small, simple, like formulas, which can be applicable, which are applicable across different contexts. And aphorisms, when you have to write something as a sutra or an aphorism, you should have had a very deepened experience for that to happen. That's how phenomenal the Patanjali Yoga Sutra is. It defines yoga, it clearly defines yoga and also lists out that 8 limbs of yoga, the categorization of yoga into 8 limbs, Ashta Anga. There is no list of different procedures or pranayama or practices for pranayama are all mentioned. The mention of asana and pranayama is definitely there in the Patanjali Yoga Sutra, but asana is also defined as stiram sukham iti asanam. So, whichever is steady and comfortable, that's called asana, that's all. There is no mention of the different types of asanas that are available, the different types of pranayamas that are being done, no. It only mentions what is pranayama. Even at a much later stage, if you see in Hatha Yoga books also, a lot of Hatha Yoga books defines pranayama as only Puraka, Rachaka and Kumbhaka, which means inhalation, exhalation and stalling or halting the breath in between. That's all. There is no specificity about the ratio or should we do it with one nostril only or both nostrils. All that was never mentioned even in few of the Hatha Yoga books which comes much later. So, obviously, Patanjali Yoga Sutra also does not have any mention of that. Now, comes the post-classical period. So, the post-classical period is somewhere between 800 to 1700 AD. This clearly mentions during this period the importance were slowly coming to asana, kriya and pranayama. Shatkarma was very clearly defined. This is to take care of the body, to cleanse the body altogether. The Shatkarma, Yoga Shatkarmas were all very well written and designed. Lot of Hatha Yoga texts came into being. Hatha Yoga focuses, what is Hatha Yoga? We do a lot of physical exercises or rather asanas. But why do we do that? In order to harmonize individual energies with that of the biorhythms. Okay, that's why we do lot of Hatha Yoga practices. Ha here means sun, ta means moon. That's why it's Hatha Yoga. Lot of prominent books came into being during this time. The Hatha Yoga Pratipika, Gheranda Samhita, Hatha Ratnavali, Shiva Samhita, Siddha Siddhanta Pattadi, Goraksha Samhita are few to mention. Gheranda and Swatmarama, these two scholars were contemporaries of this time. Now, moving on to the modern and the contemporary impact. This is the current day, which is from roughly from 1863 onwards till current day is called as the modern period. So, the modern era clearly saw the spread of yoga globally. It started with Swami Vivekananda's Chicago speech, where he literally put yoga on the world map. Some notable figures during this time are Ramana Maharishi, T. Krishnamacharya. There are 3 more disciples, very prominent disciples of T. Krishnamacharya, Paramahamsa Yogananda, Swami Satyananda Saraswati and the Bihar School of Yoga, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, Swami Shivananda of Divine Life Society. All these people were contemporaries, and they were all contemporaries, not sharing the same timeline per se, but they fall in this period from 1863 onwards to current dates. So, if we see, they were all very, very prominent, notable people during that time. We could see that yoga goes beyond the Hatha Yoga and the physical exercise. We can clearly understand now. Harmonizing with the universe, achieving perception and complete harmony is the goal of yoga. Harmonizing with universe, achieving a sense of perception, a heightened perception, and that harmony with nature is the ultimate goal of yoga. Also, in recent times, in about 2015, on June 21st, we had passed, by the efforts of our country, we were able to pass a UN resolution to celebrate every June 21st as International Day of Yoga. This started from 2015. So, this is overall the timeline and the evolution of yoga till date. Now, let us try to understand and clarify a few misconceptions. So, yoga, like we saw, is not just about any physical exercise, it is much more than that. We try to harmonize our energies with the biorhythms. We try to find that union of the individual consciousness with the universal consciousness. So, it is philosophical, it is scientific, and it is practical as well. It is a very rich science, if you see. So, yoga is not just pranayama, definitely not. Yoga is not just, it is not a breathing technique, it is a body of subtle science. So, yoga includes meditation, because we saw that in the Ashtangas, dhyana, which is meditation, is also a part of it, but yoga is not just dhyana. Yoga is a lot more than that. In fact, yoga is a state of being, such that every action when we perform, we can still be in yoga. We can also see that the yogic tools and the interventions are very therapeutic in nature. Yoga helps attain a certain mastery over the mind. It definitely does that, because we will have a better grip of our sense organs. We will be able to be in full control of our sense organs. Some specific yogic practices usually help in making it happen. So, we can roughly see that yoga is also about aligning the body, the breath, the mind, and the inner self. This is also a neo or a modern way of defining yoga, where you will try to align your body, breath, mind, and the inner self all in one plane. Okay. So, these are all few misconceptions and clarifications that we had wanted to share. Otherwise, in contemporary times, we can see that lot of yogic practices are taken into the health and wellness sector as well, because they do not have any side effects and they are usually robust. Our system of medicines, our system of even philosophy for that matter, they have all been very robust. The tattva, they operate at a very fundamental principle or the tattva level, because of which we will be able to take them and apply them based on the context. They can be contextualized. Isn't that so fascinating? Look at the depth of knowledge and understanding that our rishis would have had by then. So, we know that yoga sadhana will include yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. It will also involve certain it will also involve bandhas, mudras, shatkarmas, mita ahara or yukta ahara, yukta karma, mantra japa. All of these are simple tools with respect to yoga sadhana. Yoga sadhana, the sadhana pada with respect to yoga can also be classified into 4. One is the karma yoga, next is bhakti yoga, next is jnana yoga, fourth is kriya yoga. These are all the 4 different paths that are available for perceiving or for achieving the state of equanimity or the steady state of mind or yoga. So, usually a seeker will have to figure out his own unique combination, and it will be done under the guidance of the Guru. So, there is no one path to the truth. It is like, it's a multiple, it's so many million ways are present. Whichever is appropriate for the individual, they can maneuver and figure out their way. And the Guru usually blends the paths for the individual's growth. So, it cannot be like only Karma Yoga, and it cannot be like only Bhakti Yoga or only Jnana Yoga. No, it is a mix of all of this. However, it will suit the disciple in the eyes of the Guru. Okay. So, yoga education, if you see, it has been very traditional previously. It has been passed on from family to family, imparted by family, now imparted by even seers. Now, we have standardized yoga education, we have mainstreamed them. So, we have universities running, degree programs in yoga. We know very well that yoga practices have been spread globally and they are benefiting millions. Such a subtle science is benefiting millions of people now. Yoga as such aims for the holistic well-being of the individual and the society. One can understand this. So, this session gives a very brief overview and tries to put the evolutionary, the evolution of yoga as a body of science into some sort of a time scale. We also saw who were all the prominent figures who gave enough momentum for yoga to evolve, and what are all the contemporary challenges and times that we see, what are all the misconceptions, all this we saw. So, as we move on to the next sessions in this particular series for yoga, we will also learn about what is Ashtanga Yoga, a few technical aspects of yoga such as how does yogic intervention affect or interact or impact the cognition, the brain, how does it involve, how do we make best use of our yogic tools for maintaining this body or this instrument well, and all such details we will delve into deeper. See you in the next session. Thank you.